What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Today, May 29th, 2026. May is almost over. June is on the way. It's just so crazy how fast this month went by. Like, man, it was just May 1st. My daughter was just going to the prom, and it's just crazy, too. Crazy. I think the prom was on the Friday. Yeah, Thursday. It was Thursday. So, I'm your host, Shahir Henderson. This is the Relationship Stuff 101 podcast. We're here to talk again about the look at me theory. And like I mentioned, all of these upcoming podcasts are going to be totally focused on the look at me theory. These recordings actually might be the recordings that I use for the audio book. This is not going to be a book that I'm going to write. This is going to be a book that is totally filled with audio. Everything audio. There will not be a written book on this. Everything will be audio for you to be listened to through audio and not to be read. Excuse me as I got tongue twisted. We're talking about one of the most important phenomenons, if you want to call it that, about the look at me theory. We are talking today about the halo effect. Now, what is the halo effect? The halo effect describes a curious phenomenon whereby the way we perceive one character trait of a person influences all subsequent judgments of other, even unrealistic character traits of the same person. As such, our first impression of a stranger often has spillover effects on all future evaluations of their personality and their skills. Consider the following example, right? Amira has been exchanging emails with Jody, a new colleague from a different office. The first thing Amira notices when opening Jody's messages is her excellent use of grammar and punctuation. Amira is highly impressed with Jody's language skills and assumes she has a keen eye for detail. While this assessment may well be accurate, it ends up affecting her overall evaluation of Jody's work. For example, even though some of Jody's ideas lack feasibility, Amira tends to agree with all of her suggestions. The spillover effect even influences Amira's judgment of Jody's personality. She has never met Jody in person, yet she thinks of her as a friendly and relatable, and consequently invites Jody to her birthday party. The halo effect is a well established cognitive base that was first discovered in the early 20th century when psychologist Edward Thorndike conducted a survey of individual industrial workers. Thorndike asked employers to rate their workers on different dimensions, including physical qualities, intelligence, leadership skills, personal qualities, and overall value to service. When analyzing the data, Thorndike observed surprising patterns. People who were judged highly on one characteristic typically also scored above average on the other questionnaire characteristics. For example, a worker perceived as good looking was also rated as intelligent. Does that mean prettier? People are generally smarter. Does that mean that prettier people are generally smarter? Rather unlikely, just like in the example above, a spillover effect from one characteristic to another is much more of a plausible explanation. So when you look at the look at me theory and you look at the halo effect is like the top of the echelon for the look at me theory on why people would see someone and automatically think that that person is someone that they need to be with just based off the fact that the person looks good or they drive a nice car or they have a lot of money, or they're very neat. Never mind the fact that that neatness may be associated with OCD. That nice car that they're driving, they probably just get it and they haven't had time to mess it up yet. And just because they're pretty doesn't mean they probably didn't wash or something of that nature. Mean their body odor probably doesn't smell as good as they look. So many people tend to base their understanding of people based off what they see. And this is what the look at me theory is basically going to tackle. Why are you choosing people just based off of what you're seeing or what they're showing you, not based off what you know about the person or based on how they are psychologically? Because, see, a lot of people will say, well, we give people a chance before we judge them psychologically. Once you know somebody psychologically, you're already getting a great understanding of who you're dealing with. But a lot of times, the halo effect has hit you so hard that you think they're an angel. You think that they are godly and that they're the most beautiful thing in the world and they can bring no harm to you. That's the whole connection with the halo effect, turning this possible demon into an angel. And you believing that they are an angel just because of the effect that's taken over on you. This spillover effect is legendary. It's basically explaining how you're misjudging someone because of all of these emotions that are spilling over and emptying out your cup of logic and making you think because they're attractive, they must be one to go with or the one to go with. That information I gave you earlier came from Psychology Today from an article back in 2021 written by Eva Croco. I think it's Croco, PhD. I believe I tore her last name up. I'll spell it. Krockow. That's how you spell the last name, but I believe I messed it up. If I did, I apologize. But again, I mean, seeing that, yes, 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 yes. This is the basis of what I'm explaining and what I'm talking about. And it's funny that I can't find no information anywhere about anybody talking about how in society, from the beginning, we are pushed to judge people based on what we see. Based on what we see. If we see a homeless person, the assumption is that that person is uneducated. That's the assumption. Or that there's something psychologically wrong with them because they're homeless. So automatically we assume negative things about them just off what we see, not understanding that that person could be one of the most intelligent people that you've ever met in your life who came upon some bad times. So genuinely, I would say take a little time to get to know people. Don't just look at the book and say, oh man, this is a great book, just because the cover is designed a certain way. Yeah. Not adding any more to that because if I did, I would just keep rambling on. I want that to stick with you guys for a minute. I also want to thank you guys who are new to the podcast or, who will become new to the podcast and you hear this and you may consider, following me for more information on the Look at Me theory. You can do that right now. Wherever you're following, wherever you're listening to this podcast at, yes, go ahead and follow because there's going to be a lot more that's going to come from this podcast about this theory that I'm going to release on this in December of 2027. So, yeah, today is May 29th, 2026. You've been listening to the Relationship Stuff 101 podcast. I've been your host, Shahir Henderson. With my understanding, compared with your understanding, we can create a greater understanding. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'm going to talk to you next Friday with another look at me, hypothesis towards the theory. I'll catch you then. Peace out.